about peace. And peace is about whether you can actually build a life together without one of the most common and corrosive stressors, slowly eating away at what you have. Talk about children. Not just do you want them, but how do you want to raise them? What values do you want to pass on? How do you believe discipline works? What role does faith or culture or tradition play in the home you want to create? These things need to be talked about now, openly and specifically, not assumed. Because assuming is how two people end up married and deeply misaligned on the things that shape the entire texture of their shared life. Talk about your dreams, not just the shared ones, the individual ones, the things you want for yourself, separate from the relationship. Your ambitions, your goals, the version of your life you're working toward. Does this person support those things? Not in a vague, performative way, but specifically, actively, consistently. Do they make room for who you're becoming? Not just who you are right now, because you are going to keep growing. You are going to change and evolve and become someone even more fully yourself as the years go on. And you need a partner who doesn't just love who you are today, but who is genuinely excited about who you're becoming. Who sees your growth as something wonderful and not something threatening. And let me say this to you, softly and directly, because it might be the most important thing I say in all of this. You do not have to shrink yourself to make a relationship work. You do not have to make yourself quieter, smaller, less ambitious, less opinionated, less fully yourself in order to be loved well by the right person. If you have been doing that, if somewhere in this relationship you have been editing yourself, pulling back parts of who you are because you've learned that those parts make things difficult, I need you to hear this clearly. That is not love asking you to do that. That is fear. And you deserve love, not fear. You deserve someone who sees all of you and moves toward it. Not someone who loves you most when you're most contained. The right person, the one who deserves your forever, will not need you to be less. They will ask you, gently and consistently, to be more. More yourself. More free. More fully alive in exactly the way that is specific to you. They will be your biggest audience for the parts of yourself you're still discovering. They will celebrate the things about you that make you uniquely, irreplaceably you. And they will never, not once, make you feel like your full self is too much to handle. I want to tell you something personal now. Something I don't say lightly. I think about you, yes you, the one listening to this right now. And I feel something that is hard to name, but very easy to feel. It's a kind of protectiveness, a deep wanting good things for you, that goes beyond what I could ever fully explain. And it comes from a real place, a genuine place, the place in me that sees how much you feel, and how deeply you love, and how fully you give yourself to the people, and the life, and the things that matter to you. And because I see that, because I know how much you have to give, I want, with everything in me, for the person who receives it, to be worthy of it. Not perfect. Nobody is perfect. I'm not asking for perfect on your behalf, because perfect doesn't exist, and the pursuit of it is its own kind of trap. But worthy. Someone who recognizes what they have in you, someone who doesn't take your love for granted, doesn't let your loyalty become invisible because it's so consistent, doesn't mistake your patience for an unlimited resource. Someone who, at the end of each day, feels genuinely, humbly grateful that you chose them, that you keep choosing them, that out of everything and everyone in the world, you keep showing up for them. That is what you deserve. That specific, conscious, grateful kind of being chosen. And I need you to hold that standard not as an impossible ideal, but as a real and reasonable thing to expect. Because it is a real thing. It exists. I know it does. And before you walk down that aisle, before that day arrives with all its beauty, and its weight and its foreverness, I need to know that you feel it. That somewhere in your chest, underneath all the excitement and the planning and the beautiful noise of it all, there is a deep, quiet, steady certainty. Not the absence of nerves. Nerves are normal and human and completely okay. But underneath the nerves, a certainty. A knowing. The kind that doesn't need to be convinced. doesn't need to be talked into, doesn't need to silence any part of itself to feel sure. Just a clean, clear, unshakable sense of yes, this person, this life, this choice. Because if that's what you have, if that's what's living in you right now as you think about the person you're planning to marry, then baby, I am so happy for you. I am celebrating you with everything I have. And if there's something less than that, if there's a hesitation or an uncertainty or a quiet voice you've been trying to talk yourself out of, then I'm glad you're here, right now, listening to this. Because there's still time. There's always time to get it right. And getting it right matters more than getting it done. I want to stay here with you a little longer. Because I don't think I'm done yet. I don't think I've said everything I need to say. There are still things, important things, tender things, things that might change the way you see all of this, that I want to give you before you go. Things about what the years look like, what love looks like when it grows up, what it means to really, truly build something with someone rather than just feeling something for them. Things I wish someone had sat me down and told me, quietly and honestly, and with the kind of care that doesn't need anything in return. So don't go anywhere yet. Stay with me just a little longer, because what comes next, I think it might be the part you need to hear most. Because what comes next is the part that nobody frames and puts on the wall. Nobody posts it with a beautiful filter and a caption about love. Nobody includes it in the wedding speech or writes it in the anniversary card. But it is the part that determines everything. It is the quiet, unglamorous, profoundly important truth about what love actually becomes when you stop dating it and start living it. And I need you to know it. Not to scare you, not to dim the light of what you're feeling, but because knowing it, really knowing it, is what prepares you to protect it. Here is what nobody tells you about the years. The early ones are full and bright and consuming in the most beautiful way. Everything is still discovery. You are still learning the specific geography of this person, their particular silences, the way their mood shifts when something is bothering them that they haven't said out loud yet, the foods that comfort them, the memories that surface unexpectedly and fill their eyes with something soft and faraway. You are still in the process of becoming fluent in each other, and there is a joy in that learning that is unlike almost anything else. Everything feels significant. Everything feels like a clue to the mystery of them, and you collect those clues the way you'd collect something precious, turning each one over in your hands with wonder. But then life comes in, and life is not romantic. Life is appointments and responsibilities, and the ongoing management of a shared existence that requires constant negotiation and compromise and decision, making that is often tedious and sometimes stressful and occasionally feels about as far from love as it's possible to get. Life is figuring out whose family you spend the holidays with and who handles which bills, and what happens when one of you loses a job, or gets sick, or goes through something that changes them in ways neither of you expected. Life is the slow accumulation of small disappointments and recovered misunderstandings and moments where you look at each other across the dinner table and wonder, quietly, how you got from there to here. And I need you to know that all of that, every bit of it, is normal. It is not a sign that you chose wrong. It is not evidence that the love has failed, or the magic has gone, or that you made a mistake. It is simply what love looks like when it grows up, when it stops being a feeling you fall into and becomes a choice you make, actively and consciously, every single day. And that choice, that daily, deliberate, sometimes effortful choosing is not less than the falling. It is more. It is deeper. It is the thing that the falling was always trying to become. But here is what I really want you to understand, and I need you to hold this carefully, because it matters enormously. The choosing only stays beautiful if both people are choosing. A marriage where one person is constantly doing the work of choosing, while the other one simply expects to be chosen, that is not a partnership. That is a slow and painful drain on one person's reserves. And I have watched too many women who love beautifully and give generously and deserve so much, quietly empty themselves out in exactly that dynamic, pouring everything they have into someone who receives it like it's owed to them, who never stops to ask how you're doing with the same depth and care that you ask them, Who lets your effort become invisible because your consistency has made it seem effortless? Please promise me something. Promise me you will notice if that happens. Promise me you will not normalize it, will not tell yourself it's fine, will not convince yourself that this is just how relationships work and you should be grateful for what you have. Because you should be grateful. Gratitude is one of the most beautiful things you can bring to a relationship, but gratitude should not be used as a reason to accept less than you deserve. You can be grateful and still expect to be treated with the care and intentionality you bring. You can be grateful and still say, I need more from you. I need you to show up for me the way I show up for you. Not because I'm keeping score, but because I'm running low, and I need you to refill me the way I refill you. A good partner, the right partner, will hear that and respond. Not perfectly, not immediately, not without their own learning curve. But they will hear it and they will try. They will not make you feel unreasonable for needing. They will not turn your vulnerability into an argument about everything you're doing wrong. They will come toward you in those moments, not retreat from you. And that coming toward, that turning toward you instead of away, is one of the most important things to watch for in the person you're considering spending your life with. I want to talk about something that might surprise you. Coming from me right now in the middle of all of this, I want to talk about loneliness inside marriage. Because it exists, and it is one of the most disorienting and under-acknowledged experiences a person can have. To be legally, publicly, permanently attached to another human being and still feel deeply, privately alone. To share a home and a bed and a life on paper, and still feel like you're speaking a language the other person doesn't quite understand. That loneliness is different from being single and lonely. It carries an extra weight, an extra confusion, because it sits alongside love. You love this person. You are committed to this person. And yet something essential is missing. Something that you can feel the shape of even if you can't name it. And I need you to know this, not to frighten you, but to prepare you. Because if you ever feel that in your marriage, and some seasons will bring you close to it regardless of how well matched you are, the worst thing you can do is pretend it isn't there. The worst thing you can do is swallow it and smile and keep performing the life you're supposed to be living while something inside you slowly turns cold. The right response to that